Every 12 months or so, I sit here in kind of a state of shock. An Assassin's Creed game gets announced. It's pretty much a copy and paste of the previous game, just in a different setting. Nothing is really different. It's the exact same gameplay, map markers around the world map, the same old copy and pasted activities. They're always generic. There's never anything really interesting going on. It feels like Ubisoft designed every single one of their games. Dopamine hit when you pick up something, when you do a meaningless fetch quest. All their games feel the same, especially Assassin's Creed. And yet, every year or so, they sell gangbusters. Ubisoft have put all of their eggs in the Assassin's Creed basket now. Most of their other titles, I think there was Watch Dogs Legion some time ago, that flopped, that series, they announced that as being dead. I think there was a Ghost Recon live service that didn't do very well. That looked pretty bad for them. But Assassin's Creed, consistently, it still sells. It's not like it's the one series they actually innovate with, they try and do their very best. It's just been the same old garbage for years. At Assassin's Creed Shadows, yet another generic title. They're starting to run out of them. Odyssey, Valhalla, at least it was relevant to what was going on. But Shadows, I guess it's stealth related, which should be going back to the series roots, but we know deep down it's just going to be a bit of an action RPG. The whole Assassins, Templars, that whole side of the series seems to have gone out the window. That's just an inconvenience for them now. They just want to make a game in a different setting each time and market it, try and get people excited. Not really with the game itself that will eventually play, but just the idea of like a samurai fantasy. You think, whoa, anything's going to be possible. I'm in Japan, I am literally this sword-wielding, awesome samurai, but in reality it is just another Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Origins, so on. Nothing is really different here aside from the art and the graphics. And the reason it's all kind of sad to me is there are not that many video game publishers, developers left who are independent. We've seen all of this consolidation. Embracer Group, they bought up all these small studios, usually pretty niche studios. They weren't doing that well, but they bought them out and a lot of them have been closed. And you lose those studios forever. They're gone. The same thing has happened with Xbox. You get these fanboys going, yes, we're going to get these incredible exclusives. We're going to beat Sony. Keep doing it, Bill Gates. Keep buying everything up. I know he's retired. But they cheer that on. And now they're closing down Tango Gameworks. They're probably going to keep doing it. It's very clear that Microsoft are focused on short-term profits, nothing else. So you're going to keep seeing studios close. The industry, it seems like it's getting bigger in terms of money, but it kind of gets smaller because there's less unique teams making games. Instead, you get 10,000 developers working on one game instead of a lot of different interesting games. So I've always kind of got one eye on Ubisoft because in an ideal world, they'd be fantastic, like they kind of were in, say, the early 2000s, mid-2000s, where they were making interesting games. Even Far Cry 2, I felt, was kind of interesting. It was immersive. It felt like a real world that you were exploring, fighting in. After that, it felt like every game was an amusement park. It was all about map markers, and because some of those games sold well, like Assassin's Creed 2, Far Cry 3, they didn't think, all right, this is a great start, let's keep building. They actually just went, no, this is our template to use forever. Let's use this for the next 50 years, which is what they've been doing. Every title's the same. And I just don't understand how people don't see through that. How every year people keep getting hype, pre-order, and buy it. And it's not an assumption. These games, you look them up, they sell incredibly well. Valhalla, the latest major Assassin's Creed, sold extremely well, which I still kind of get shocked by because I go online, I can't find anyone interested. There's just this group of people who are not, I guess, sitting on gaming forums discussing it, who go out and buy the game. And I mean, I don't want to blame the customer and say, stop buying these garbage Ubisoft games. They can buy what they like. But it's just a shame that it seems like there's a lot of people who don't get exposed to different types of games that are maybe more creative and have more of their interests at heart. They're made by teams that want to deliver you a fun product. Ubisoft don't care about that. They just want something that keeps you on a treadmill. It might drive you to the cosmetic, I shouldn't say cosmetic, they have XP boosts, for instance. You can basically pay to win in a single-player game. It's pathetic. that seems to be what everything is designed around. And if we actually look at Assassin's Creed Shadows, again, I barely see this as a new game, because I know it's just going to be a total copy and paste of the modern, I guess, Assassin's Creed formula, starting with Origins. It's an RPG. It tries to be like The Witcher 3, but it's way more generic, and almost every bit of content across a huge sprawling map is copy and pasted. Once you've done one area, you've done them all. Barely anything different happens. The story's always designed to appeal to the dumbest person possible. They're scared of treating their players with any sort of intelligence. It's always just a generic, boring time, but you have, of course, your main characters here, and there's been a little bit of controversy around this, because one of them is Yasuki. I think that's right, we'll go with that. And he is a black man, but this, being samurais, is set in Japan. Now, apparently, Yasuki is a genuine historical figure. He was apparently a black man in Japan, and that's all fine. I don't really know all the history, so I don't want to debunk that or really analyze that, but all I'm going to say is this. He wasn't a real major figure. It's not like he's the most famous samurai, and it makes sense to go with him. That's why they did it. They obviously had an agenda here, and I just know that if this was an Assassin's Creed game set in the heart of Africa, and it starred a white person, do you really think that the people cheering this on would be okay with that? They'd say, oh, cool, that's diversity, because you have one group of people and then you've got another and you've mixed them together, it's so diverse. No, they would be absolutely melting down, losing their minds. If you didn't show your outrage and boycott Ubisoft, you'd be an ist, a phobe, whatever. For them, diversity is really like a team sport, where they only really care about the type of diversity that gets them a lot of virtue signaling points. If you're supporting Japanese people, and you want to see Japanese people get the best representation possible, maybe playing as a person with traditionally Japanese physical features, if you want that, apparently that makes you racist. That's really bad. So we've got to cheer this on. Yasuki, it's not the biggest deal in the world to me, because I'm just happy that it's happening in this game. If it was a title I was genuinely looking forward to, and then this happened, they'll always try and strawman you, and they'll say, oh, you just hate black people, that's why you're upset at this. You can try and pull that garbage, but we all know the truth. You did not do this because you thought it was the best thing for the story, the best thing for Assassin's Creed. You purely did it because you think it supports your worldview, you're going to educate people in the modern world, and you're thinking about 2024 politics. You don't give a shit about providing an immersive experience to your players, to your fans. You don't care. You see writing, you see these characters as an opportunity to expose all of the evil modern gamers who might actually rightfully call this sort of mindset out. And of course, the additions, we've got the monetization, the Ubisoft special, where they basically try and complete the Pokédex of scummy monetization in 2024. Just how far can we go? And it's all the typical stuff. They're doing all of the same things for Star Wars Outlaws, by the way, which is literally going to be the same game as Assassin's Creed Shadows with a Star Wars skin. They've just been doing this for so long. The Avatar game, it's Far Cry with a different color of paint. That is literally it. How do these games sell? I don't understand. Once you've played one, you've literally played them all, and when you try and play another one, you start to get a headache. You start to get super bored. I don't know if I'm alone in that, if it's just me, but again, these games sell, but I seem to see a lot of people sharing the same frustrations as me, so it's kind of weird. But you've, of course, got the Early Access Edition. Imagine not getting to play single-player game with zero innovation 3 days early. How are you going to live? Come on, you've got to pre-order the Gold Edition. You also get the Season Pass. It includes 2 upcoming expansions. And guess what? They're going to do what they did with Valhalla, where there's the Season Pass, and you think, if I buy that now, if I pre-order like a smart person, then I'm going to get all of the content. What a deal. But then they have a Season Pass too. So you don't even get all of the content. And if you just put your business hat on, what are they going to do? If everyone was to pre-order the Season Pass, they've already got the money for it, they've got an incentive to make that as small as possible, to put the least amount of content they possibly can get away with, and then make a second season pass that you have to buy standalone way after this, and they put all the good content in that. So even if we ignore the common sense perspective, which is pre-ordering a digital game, especially this far out, I understand maybe pre-downloading it a few days before, but if you're pre-ordering today when it comes out in November, that's fucking stupid. It's a digital product. Aside from that, you have the season pass nonsense, where pre-ordering will actually ensure a worse experience for the customer. If they get all your money first, they have no reason to make sure the game functions properly at launch. They've got no reason to give you great content in that season pass, given they're going to keep making more of them. And you know what? This is just what they've advertised, because there were rumors that have done the rounds for a few days. Apparently, according to this tweet, Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to have mini battle passes, but they're going to call them projects because battle passes sound bad. That might generate some negative publicity. We'll call them projects, but in these you get 20 levels where you can unlock cosmetics. Now, I'll be honest, I still ask myself the question, what really is a battle pass? Because I'm starting to feel old. I don't think I've actually played any games seriously that have a battle pass in them. I've seen videos, I've seen articles about how bad they are, but I still don't really get it. It seems to me like you pay real money, and what you're really paying for is some sort of cosmetic item. You're paying for rewards, but then there's hurdles along the way. You don't just get those rewards that you're trying to pay for, and I consider that crap, that you're paying real money for items. It should just be it's in the game, and you do interesting content to earn those rewards. That'd make sense, but the whole battle pass thing, you pay money where you want these cosmetic items, and then you have to go through a bunch of chores to get them. They'll say that they're content, but it seems to me like it's the most lazy content possible. They know that people are buying the battle pass only for the rewards, but they just want to make sure you have to log in every single day to get them. If you just pay $20, get the cosmetic, you put it on, you have a laugh for a couple of hours, maybe you switch the game off and never play again. They can't have that. It's all about user engagement, and it's all about reoccurring spending. And if you're not logging in every day, you might not go on the store. There's less chance that you're going to spend more money. So the Battle Pass exists to make sure you're logging in every day. Fear of missing out if you don't do it in a certain amount of time. If you skip a day, you may even miss out on your reward altogether. I know there's some nuance there. It's not always the same. There's not always the fear of missing out, but that seems to be the point. So they're putting these Battle Passes in Assassin's Creed, in a single-player game. It's not just a live service thing. They're going all in with this. They won't rest until single-player games literally emulate mobile games. And it gets even that little bit worse. You think, oh, this is bad, the monetization, crap game in the first place, Battle Pass. But doing a little bit more research, people have found, this is on the Sony page, so Ubisoft weren't really putting this out there in the open. We've had to learn this from Sony. It's another online play required game. This is a single player title. Sure, there'll be some lame online features no one cares about, probably just so they can justify this, but you have to have an internet connection to play. It'd be one thing if a random company did this, if any video game company did this, but when it is Ubisoft, it is especially evil, because they now have a genuine history. This isn't slippery slope argument. There's very clear evidence that they shut down games after a period of time. There's a title called The Crew, some sort of racing game. It was in gaming news recently because they shut down the servers, and if you had paid money for that game, you can no longer play it. They're not giving you a refund. There's no offline mode where you can enjoy most of it. You just can't unlock the online component or something like that. That is my understanding. You are locked out of the game that you purchased. There is nothing to suggest it will not be the same with Assassin's Creed Shadows in 5 years, 10 years. If they decide, hey, it's expensive to keep these servers on, no one's buying microtransactions anymore, we're going to switch it off. And the sad thing is people who've tried to challenge this go to, say, their governments or their regulatory bodies and sort of say, look what's going on here. We're getting locked out of games that we're purchasing. Products we buy, we can no longer use them because of these companies. The governments are basically saying, we don't care. The laws don't say that Ubisoft can't do that. So they're allowed to get away with this, basically. And until people actually stop buying them, until we see like a Helldivers 2 moment with Ubisoft games where everyone bands together and said, we're sick of it. No one's buying your shit game anymore unless you actually produce something of quality, not the same copy and paste where you sell everyone with your marketing, you have a great cinematic, it all looks cool, and it seems like you trick some people in there, and then it's the same game from 10 years ago, you've just reskinned it into Samurai version. It is a real shame. I wish people saw that and Ubisoft were held accountable. They shouldn't be doing... they're not doing super well. They've had some flops, some financial problems, but Assassin's Creed as a series has been doing extremely well. It hasn't dropped off for some time. They just seem to keep selling. Hopefully this year it's different. Hopefully people wake up, but I'll end on some slightly good news. There was this graph. I love this graph. It was looking great. It's got Ubisoft. They're making the money. Oh, it's dropped. Things aren't going so well. Apparently, they reported a loss in earnings, some sort of financial trouble, so it's kind of nice to see it. And maybe this will be unpopular, but I don't actually want Ubisoft to close down. I don't think that would be a good thing if things actually got that dire and they totally fell over. It was the end of them. I wouldn't actually want that because all it would basically say to the industry is independent publishers, developers, it doesn't work anymore. You can only have the Sonys, the Microsofts, Xboxes, whatever, making the games. And if that happens, things will get even more dire very fast. You've got to have the independents. I just want them to get better. I just want them to be in that situation where the current trend, copy and paste game, little dopamine hits, you design your single player games like mobile titles. I just want that trend to end. I want them to have that moment where they see, hang on, we have to look at quality games, we've got to be creative, we've got to innovate. That's why it is nice when the PAL Worlds, the Baldur's Gate 3s of the world do so well, because it has to make studios like Ubisoft take another look and go, well, what we thought was success previously, maybe that's not the case. Maybe we do need to put out a game that's more creative, like Beyond Good and Evil back in the day, Far Cry 2, even the Mario and Rabbids games, the recent Prince of Persia, that had a bit more going for it. I hope that happens, but for now, I certainly won't lose sleep if Assassin's Creed Shadows totally flops. Please make it happen. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.